Welcome back to the F1 2018 career mode here, and you all join me for Season 1's USA Grand Prix, one of my least favourite circuits on the calendar, just because I can never go well here. I don't know what it is about me, my driving style, my setup. It's just, apparently I never go well around this circuit, but nonetheless, that should not take away from the spectacle of the American Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas. We are riding a wonderful wave of momentum. I feel like I say that in nearly every episode now. Because we got a fifth place finish at the Japanese Grand Prix. We beat out both Renaults and both Red Bull cars. In fact, Renault failed to score any points in the last Grand Prix, so that has surged us ahead of them in the Constructors' Championship. So let's hope to continue that trend here in the American Grand Prix, as we're going to be jumping any second now into our qualifying performance, which was what it was. Honestly, we're going to jump on board for our lap here. This is my third attempt at a lap on the ultra soft compound tyre. You can see so far we have set P11, so just on the bubble, nearly there for being able to go through into, well, not into Q3 because I'm on short qualifying, but be in the top 10. I ran wide initially through turn 1, but then got a better exit. That put my delta slightly up before the sweeping left-right corners, where you just have to try and stay as committed as possible. The car ducked in, definitely exceeded track limits there as we went through, but I don't think it's hampered the lap or, you know, affected the lap too badly, as going through the next section is where I lost a heap load of time, and now we're a 10th up as we charge down towards the hairpin. This is always an odd one to try and judge the braking point. I tried to judge it more. I've gone, it appears to be different braking in this game to older games, because I've been able to brake later than I just did there and still make the apex, whereas I went horrifically wide. But now we're down the back straight. Not quite a 10th up on our best time, but we're coming towards the second sector split. There is a car ahead of me on the road. It is a Haas, and weirdly enough, we're in a Haas sandwich, with Grosjean currently sitting 10th and Magnussen sitting 12th. We're 6/10 down on the current pole sitter, but we're over a 10th up on my delta. It's about, can we improve through this sector and the final sectors? That's where I lose a lot of time. You see that left-hander is where I lost a lot of time on my previous lap, and now swinging through the long right hander. The delta continues to improve, over 2.5 tenths up, and then this blind left hander where you just got to turn in, try and stay committed, went wide, had to extend the track a little bit unfortunately, and then braking for the final corner, taking a big old heap of curb, but the car doesn't slide too badly on the power. Nice 4/10 improvement up to P6 initially at the time of completing the lap, which I was very impressed with. Unfortunately, it did drop me down to P9 by the end of the session, with Vettel on pole, Raikkonen second, Verstappen up in third place, beating both Mercedes drivers, then Ricciardo in sixth, Hulkenberg up to 7th in the Renault, then myself of Perez, and Perez, and then myself, Grosjean in P10, Sainz down in P11, which means he's on the more preferred strategy going into the race, because he can definitely pull off a one-stop, whereas we might have to perhaps consider a 2-stop there. But now we're going to take a look with the points, the resource points that we got for qualifying. We're going to look to make some improvements to the car. I initially had a look at chassis, and then just had a look at downforce upgrades, but nothing that I really want to do there that would affect the car too much. It might outbalance it a little bit, so we're going to go for a major power upgrade. That will be with us later on in the season. Apparently that's going to be delivered for Brazil, but now it's time for the USA Grand Prix.
In 2012, America's on-again, off-again love affair with Formula One finally seemed to settle down with the completion of this wonderful racing facility here in Texas. Since then, we've been treated to some incredible races, including, of course, that classic wet-dry championship decider of 2015. It's the Circuit of the Americas then, situated 14 miles outside the great city of Austin. This is the 3.6-mile lap with 20 corners, 10 each to the left and to the right, and top speeds of around 200 miles per hour. Overtaking opportunities are available into turns 1 and 12, especially with that rear wing DRS wide open.
Okay, you can brake late into 1 because of the incline. It's a slow corner though, so make sure you stay out of trouble. Good luck.
I always try and stay out of trouble there, Jeff. So you can see I mentioned about the strategy. It's offering me a 2-stop, which is ultras to 2 sets of supers, or a 3-stop, which essentially shoehorns another set of ultras in there. And like I say, my pace around this circuit isn't that great, so I'm going to have to try and commit myself to a 1-stop. Apparently it improves my projected race time by 0.4 of a second. I'm not hopeful about this strategy, but I mean, we're just going to have to put our foot down and see what happens, and see if my pace, if I find whatever's causing my issues around this circuit, and see if I can solve it in the 28 laps around the COTA circuit as we bump a load of fuel into the car and build with the lights. 5 are on, 5 are out, and away we go. We're up to P8 because of a grid penalty. Hulkenberg up to P6. Grosjean's past me. Sainz is coming through on the right-hand side. We're going to brake late. Just as Jeff said, everyone leaves the door open. Thank you very much. Going to stick the nose of the Force India into turn 1. Get ahead of Perez. Get ahead of Hulkenberg. And Grosjean appears to have followed me through there up into 7th place. We've got Hamilton and Ricciardo battling over 4th and 5th into the fast left-hander. Ricciardo nearly being backed into ourselves just there, but now we need to concern ourselves early on with looking after the tyres. I think it was Bottas actually with the grid penalties. I've got the 2 Ferraris and the Red Bull up the front there, and no Valtteri Bottas to be seen. So now we've got to try and drag these tyres to lap 9 and then manage a set of soft tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. So that's essentially going to be my plight. Let's see what we can do as we come out of the hairpin. Is Grosjean going to try and attack us on lap 1 into the left-hander? He's in the slipstream. Of course, no DRS available as of yet. That will be enabled at the end of lap 2. Grosjean thinks about it, but he's not really pulled alongside. We brake. Grosjean brakes later than me. I'll give him full credit there. He's got through, pinches himself on the apex. Can we get him on acceleration? Initially, it's better, and that gives us the inside for the next right-hander. Force Grosjean out wide. Not let him cut back underneath. That's us back up into 6th place. But you can already see the top 3 cars pulling away by the midway of lap 2, checking the wear on the tyres, checking the wear on the engine, and obviously, like I say, the top 5 just getting away from us there, and Grosjean's going to now try, this is Hulkenberg has got past Grosjean and is now trying on the outside into the same corner, but we pinch it on the apex, and unlike Grosjean, we run it out wide to get better acceleration, not going to allow Hulkenberg to cut back underneath us. I got so confused between Grosjean and Hulkenberg, just say the wrong names all the time. Anyway, end of lap 3. The top 5 have bolted, and my pace has slowed to a crawl, basically. I'm in the 39s. I'm already a second and a half down on my best as we brake late into turn 1. Hulkenberg was on the inside. Well, I braked so much later than the Renault driver, and I was somehow able to keep the position by swinging the car around and then getting a more straightened exit. But he's all over the back of me. Look, I'm basically holding up the field from 6th to last at this point, as now Grosjean is back up into 7th. Grosjean and Hulkenberg are battling themselves, and then they're going to try and battle me as Hulkenberg locks up into the left-hander at the end of Sector 2. Does that let Grosjean back through? No, it does not. But we are over a second down. In fact, I'm going too defensive into the final corner at the end of lap 4, and that's going to allow Hulkenberg to undercut underneath me. Switchback mode, much better acceleration from the Renault driver. DRS wide open. Now Grosjean's attacking me on the outside up towards turn 1. Can we make a big diving move? Of course we do. Up the inside of Hulkenberg. The apex is so much later than you think it is, and that's us back up into P6. But like I've said, I'm pretty much just holding up the whole field back to last at this point. I've got 0 pace and apparently 0 grip into the hairpin at the beginning of the back straight as Hulkenberg tried to switch back underneath me. He appears to be struggling with the acceleration as much as I am, but you can see there the DRS effective. And then you got Grosjean in the slipstream of Hulkenberg, and then Perez is trying to get some as well. We're nearly 4 wide into this corner, but then Hulkenberg and Grosjean do get through on the inside line, and I couldn't cut back underneath. Then Perez tries to have a go at me into the next right-hander, can't find his way around the outside. Grosjean makes a double overtake there, up into 6th place. Hulkenberg down to 7th, or I suppose remains 7th, as it were. Perez there still in 9th. My tyres had already gone off at this point, but I was so committed to making the one-stop strategy work because the 2-stop would actually cost me more time. I don't know what it is about this circuit. My tyres almost suffer the real-life marble effect as Perez did try to get through, and we ducked down the inside of him again into the first corner at the start of lap 6, where even if they're only showing wear of like 30%, it's like they're already gone off the cliff, and I've just got 0 grip as you see me again struggling into the hairpin before the back straight. That's going to put Perez in my slipstream, and Grosjean and Hulkenberg have already built a very sizable gap, so Perez is going to go through on the left-hand side. We're going to duck into his slipstream, and Sainz is now going to try. He's on the super soft tyre, the more preferred strategy. He can definitely make a one-stop work around here, but I'm going to try and achieve it. Perez got through, was too far ahead for me to try and make a move down the inside of him. That releases Perez, and I do believe he's got enough pace to catch Grosjean and Hulkenberg, as we now just understeering horribly. You see the tyres in the mid-30s, and then Sainz was on my inside. We've managed to make contact with him, then hold it down the inside of the penultimate corner. But the tyres are in the wear of the mid-30s, and they feel like they're in the high 60s with how little grip I'm getting. We cut to end of lap 7, Perez closing in on the 2 cars ahead, and the tyres again look 40%. But I was just didn't understand why I had absolutely zero grip. It was like driving on ice, honestly, and I just sort of hoped they would try and come back to me. As we cross the line, we're still in the 39s, we'll be in the 40s any minute now, which is going to be about 4 seconds off the leader's pace. As we come up towards turn 1 now, Magnussen is up to P10, so he's past Sainz. Couple of cars in the pits, Perez and Hulkenberg are in the pits at the end of lap 8. Can't see what tyres are going to. Magnussen actually on the super soft tyres, but he's now the car behind me, sorry. Ricciardo's on the soft tyres, so he is definitely going to the end of the Grand Prix. That's a one-stop strategy right there. Magnussen behind me, the tyres nearly at 50% at this point and getting very overheated, especially that front right through that section. As Magnussen now with DRS, bit of slipstream, surges past me on his super soft tyres. They're in much better condition. We're going to try round the outside. Magnussen very slow into the braking zone, forces me to go wide there, and that means that I wasn't able to get the drive under him. So Magnussen gets through. Sainz once again is trying to get past me, but nothing doing for the Renault man. He tries to stay on the inside, force him out onto the marbles though, and just really costing Sainz his Grand Prix, because Hulkenberg there, you can already see in the background, has made up so much time versus him. And we're finally coming into the pits. I was so relieved for it to be the end of lap 9 to get off these tyres, but this strategy is going to work better for me for the whole Grand Prix. Nailed it down to the box. And let's swap to the soft compound tyre and hope that these tyres give us a bit more grip, because for whatever reason our car, I've said it multiple times this season, when it's running on the hardest tyre available, except for the bloody tyres they offered at Silverstone, the car just performs better. You see Grosjean's come out there in 17th, then Sorokin comes through on the super soft tyres. Bottas is behind me in P20, also looking to go to the end of the Grand Prix, and he tried it. I'll give Bottas credit here. He pulled a me and just stuck his nose where it didn't belong into turn 1. That offset me, and then Bottas gets through and drops me down to pure last place, and then through the dirty air and the cold tyres, I just had zero grip through the first sector. So time to get our head down. Our first lap in clean air, a 38.0. So no improvement on my personal best lap time. That said, we were able to keep with Bottas. I don't know if he's got some kind of issue at the moment, but running in rich mix with medium battery, we're still up behind Bottas. We've got a bit of DRS now on him, and we're going to come past him on the back straight. I mean, nothing appears to be inherently wrong with his car. He's just not accelerated away from me like I expected him to. And to be honest, that big old fixture of the midfield that I thought I was holding up hasn't really spread out or done anything too electric with its pace. It's all still bunched together on the super soft tyre, and they're all coming in at the end of lap 12. We now do a personal best of a 37.3, and as we get past everyone swapping to the soft tyre, we're up to P13, and there's going to be cars still yet to make their pit stop. So maybe we're not as out of this Grand Prix as I initially expected. There's more cars in at the end of lap 13. We pass a few cars there, and we're up to P10, so we've retained a points paying position. And then there's Sergei Sorokin's up ahead of me on super softs. He has to pit again, so we're going to re-inherit P9 by the looks of things, and come lap 16, where all I've basically done is get my head down and just push as hard as I can, we've finally caught Sergei Sorokin, and hopefully we're going to make a move on him, because that Williams through these corners, now on very worn super soft tyres, is going to be very slow. As you're seeing here, apex speed in the Williams is not very high, and you can see I'm actually going so slow, it's actually affecting my speed, so I have to sort of just try and be as effective and efficient with my corners as possible. And then Perez, unfortunately, or not Perez, Sorokin, with his still the Williams engine, the Mercedes engine in the back of that Williams is still the most powerful on the grid, for God's sake, after what I did to it earlier in the season. He's still ahead of me, so with rich and overtake and DRS, I'm still just going to struggle down the back straight. We're like 200 mile an hour at this point, and Sorokin, we only start closing on him near the end of the straight. So Sorokin doing exactly what he needs to do to stay ahead of me. So out of the final corner, more cars are in the pits. That's Perez and Hulkenberg, who are clearly on a two-stop strategy, back on super soft tyres. They've now dropped back into P8 as we dive bomb Sergei Sorokin. I was looking at the minimap to see where those two cars filtered out. Forgot about the dive bomb move on Sorokin. That's us up into P7 now. So that's a huge improvement over where I expected to be, considering my pace earlier on. And once again, on the soft tyre, this car was just working much better. On lap 18, I make a very conscious decision. I go wide in the hairpin on purpose, and then as I swung it back in, made, unfortunately, a little bit of contact with Perez there. But I've decided I'm going to let Perez through. He's on the faster tyre. He's already made his final pit stop. It's only going to cost him time to sit behind me. I think he can get after Grosjean and overtake him, and that'll be Perez finishing the 6th. And I mentioned in the last race, my goal is to get Perez to finish 8th in the Drivers' World Championship. And now Sainz is attacking me at the end of lap 19, beginning of lap 20. He's in my slipstream. Is he going to try and make a move? We squeeze him towards the pit wall. He's going to try and make a move in turn 1. That Renault power unit is very, very strong, and he goes very late on the brakes, but just too wide and misses the apex slightly. So I'm going to duck my car on the inside. Sainz initially got okay on traction. Tried to remain down my inside on the long right-hander, but no, could not get through. And now it's the case again, similar to earlier on in the season. I've got 2 Renaults because Sainz has fallen back. Hulkenberg has now taken up the position behind me to try and overtake me. He's in my slipstream, coming up towards this corner, and he's got a lot of speed, but you know, that Renault engine is nothing compared to the Mercedes engine in the back of this Force India. End of lap 21. I'm running very wide though. Hulkenberg has a surge of momentum down the inside of the final corner, similar to earlier on in the Grand Prix, but these soft tyres have still got a lot of life left to give and still got plenty of traction in them as we once again squeeze Hulkenberg towards the pit wall. He's stuck his foot in it, so we're going to regain the racing line. Hulkenberg once again went 2 inside, very similar to what his teammate Sainz did a couple of laps ago. Duck it back down the inside of him, get on the traction early. We've then gone 2 wide through the right-hander, nearly side by side through the fast left-hander, but Hulkenberg has to yield and drop back into 9th position. You can see on the minimap by lap 24, the sun's actually beaming now at Kota, and Perez is catching Grosjean, so my plan is working, and I'm backing everyone together behind me, because they can't get through on the technical section, and then this car's just slightly too powerful and too much speed in a straight line, so much so at the end of lap 25, they're not even within a second of me. They haven't got DRS down the main straight, so everything's coming up Simon at this point. And you can see, like, Hulkenberg again just not attacking me. We've got a yellow flag up ahead. Romain Grosjean is out the Grand Prix. So not only has Perez got through an inherited 6th, I'm going to take 7th place off him. So it's going to be a 6-7 for Force India. Once again, we're going to beat one of the top 3 teams by the look of things, because I'm not getting attacked by the cars behind me anymore. And I think, is it the Mercedes? Is it one of them? I'm not entirely sure. Sebastian Vettel has won the USA Grand Prix. Perez has already finished the race. That was the gap between the 2 Force Indias by the end of it. But I've got such a gap back to Sainz, we can just cruise it home. I was trying to set a personal best, you know, in rich and hot lap mode, final lap, but I found pace out of nowhere.
Thank you for all your hard work out there. That was a strong drive and a good finish. Well done.
Well, I'm thoroughly exhausted after the excitement of that race, but I'm sure it's nothing compared to our drivers here. They've worked hard to make it up there, and it's great to see them make their way out onto the podium.
So as I mentioned, Sebastian Vettel wins the USA Grand Prix ahead of his teammate Kimi Räikkönen by 7/10 of a second. Lewis Hamilton only 2.1 behind the leader, so a big 3-way scrap for the win there. Daniel Ricciardo bringing it home in 4th position. Verstappen down to 5th there. Then comes Perez. So only 10 seconds between the top 5. Then Perez a long way back in 6th place. Myself there over a minute behind in 7th, beating both Renaults. And Fernando Alonso out of nowhere getting P9 in the McLaren. Round of applause to Alonso to fight that thing up into the points. Pierre Gasly, unfortunately, just misses out on points for Toro Rosso in 11th place, with Charles Leclerc in 12th, so a brilliant showing from a few teams at the back. Yeah, Bottas down in 14th, just a miserable race there. Moving on to the driver standing side of things, that's us on 114 points. We're nearly in striking range of Max Verstappen, so if he has a few poor results, who knows what could happen there. But Perez now only 10 points behind Nico Hulkenberg, so that strategy is working out nicely. Let's hope it does for the remainder of the season, and then Grosjean rounds out the top 10. He could potentially be fighting with Carlos Sainz over that position later on in the season. As we move on over to the constructors standings, we now have 178 points versus Renault's 141. I'm fairly confident we are solidified in 4th place, but anything can happen in Grand Prix racing, and it usually does. So who knows what could happen between Force India and Renault for the rest of the season. All I know is we now get to go back to the paddock and have a chat with Claire.
Amazing performance out there. You must be really happy. You're breaking all expectations. What's your secret?
I was hoping to get a bit more bonus stats from this answer, but that'd be telling. You know, I have no answers for what I did in that race.
You had a close battle today, didn't you?
We did. We had a brilliant strategy, two similar cars, two similarly skilled drivers, different strategies, and yeah, he just beat me today.
There was some contact between you two. What happened out there?
Again, similar to the incident in Japan. I think that was when I actually intentionally let him through, and again, it just happens.
Do you think that you learned a lot from your rivalry?
I would say so. It showed to never give up and just keep fighting. Apparently I couldn't give a good answer to this, but that's what I learned.
Appreciate your time.
So speaking of the rivalry with Hulkenberg, it's come to its conclusion, and unfortunately Nico Hulkenberg has beaten me 31 points to 29, which sucks because at the time, you know, he was considered better than us in a rivalry, but obviously as the cars improved, and since the patch, the Force India is considered better than the Renault, but is what it is, and we're back to losing our rivalry with Perez 15 points to 12 there, but, you know, I did what I could, you know, considering as well, like I mentioned, I tend to have no pace around this circuit, and for me to pull off not only the one stop, but then also find myself quite solidly in the points considering how bad I was struggling at the end of that first stint, and then just, yeah, that one stop, just the soft compound tyre, which proved really consistent for me, and at the end of the race, the other cars just couldn't fight me. Inheriting 7th place was nice, beating one of the top guys is even nicer, so if you have enjoyed the USA Grand Prix, please leave a like and comment any feedback down below. Next time out is one I really enjoy, the Mexican Grand Prix. Really suits my driving style. Big old long straights for low downforce. Couple of slow technical sections, and a really flowing middle sector of just fast left-right corners, which I do very much enjoy. You saw me enjoy it in Suzuka, you saw me enjoy it here, so let's see what we can do. We're starting to accrue a few more resource points. What I think I might do is I might wait and store those up for the rest of the season. And then when we get the end of season bonus, do a big old upgrade, because we've prepared ourselves, we've confirmed our adaptation for our parts for seasons, like the next season. Like, we're not going to lose any of our chassis and aero upgrades, so we'll just try and build on that a little bit more into season 2. Please subscribe and enable them notifications to never miss an update coming to the channel, and I will see you all next time.